Hi, how are you?
I'm well.
I'm
How are you?
good. I'm great. It's nice to see you again. We last spoke at the beginning of season five, when it was just about to air. And here we are 3 months after it's all ended.
How do we
Uh,
do?
I think you did great. I think you hit it out of the park. And I think Hugh, Dr. Culber in particular, had a really sort of complete story arc, uh, which you've got to be satisfied with. You must have loved it, huh?
I did love it. You know, I was challenged. I was challenged in every season. Let's be honest with you. I mean, anytime you die and come back, that's pretty challenging to imagine and to replicate and to create. But this season was really satisfying in so many ways because I interacted with so much of the crew in different ways. You know, that relationship with Book, for instance, was incredibly satisfying. Um, you know, my experience playing Janal as an actor was incredibly satisfying, but nerve-wracking, and um, I'm glad it worked out. So yeah, no, I was incredibly satisfied with season five, as I was with all the seasons. You know, I mean, I had a full arc in season two that I will always hold really dear.
Your career has been I wanted to ask you about the experience of joining one of the biggest fandoms in the world with Star Trek. Your career starting with My So-Called Life, which maybe is one of the cultiest of all cult shows ever. You did Rent, which has its own, you did it on Broadway. It has its own huge following. Did any of that prepare you for what it was going to be like to join the Star Trek universe?
Yes, actually. You know, the My So-Called Life fandom is unparalleled. You know, the fact that we only had one season, by the way, 30 years this month. Uh, the fact that that one season of TV is still accessible tells you the strength of that fandom. The rent heads are an animal of their own. So I was prepared. Um, that said, um, the Star Trek fandom seems to have an ownership over the franchise that's different, right? Um, so it was a challenge, and it was actually, and I mean that in a good way, right? Like it challenged me to live up to expectation, to fulfill that expectation of what Star Trek means for people. So I was prepared. Uh, you know, I took the hits, and sometimes I hit back, and I took all the love in as well.
Your career has also, I think, been a career of representation. Again, with some really high profile points, My So-Called Life, Rent, Star Trek, science fiction in general, but Star Trek has been one of the most representative shows, starting with TV's first interracial kiss back in the 60s on the original series. And Discovery might be the most of all. Can you talk a little bit about how that fits into your career and what that means to you as an actor and an advocate to have been a part of that?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like Discovery really, in ways that other series couldn't, fulfilled its mandate. The mandate it gave itself, that Gene Roddenberry himself gave, which was infinite diversity and infinite combinations. And so it was a pretty natural fit for me, someone who has worked tirelessly to make our television screens and our movie screens look more like the world. Um, and the fact is, whether people like this or not, people of color and LGBTQ people are part of the world. And we have experiences and stories that are worth telling. And the value in seeing yourself and your lived experience mirrored back to you in a hopeful way um, is something that um, fits nicely into my um, my goal as an actor, right? Like I want to be a part of projects that allow people to see themselves in and challenge them to put the shoes on of someone different than them, right? To walk in the shoes of someone different than them. And I think Discovery really allowed that. I mean, you know, we were the first gay couple. We had a chosen family that consisted of a non-binary and trans young person. So they could see that family is universal, if you will. So it's really important to me that our screens look like the world. And there's a lot of work to do. You know, when you look at the representation of Latinos, for instance, it's, you know, we are the fastest growing population in this country, and yet we only make up about 3% of the characters on TV. So there's a lot of work to be done.
We're here today to celebrate the box set coming out. Discovery, the entire series is coming out on DVD, on Blu-ray. I'm showing my age. Coming out on Blu-ray August 27th, I think, in the United States. Is there a show that you bought on DVD or Blu-ray? Do you have a box set in your house that you come back to? And like, what show or shows have you got in your library?
Well, I feel like during the years of 2016 and 2020, I lived in my West Wing box set. I lived in that imaginary administration. I also was in that show. But you know, I have that box set. I also this is gonna key you into just how big of a homosexual I am. I have the box set of the Judy Garland show that aired on CBS that I love so much. It's every episode of that short-lived series, and it's dynamic and still really satisfying and beautiful to watch. So I'm very gay.
I'm not, but that show was fantastic. And I mean, how could you not love such a legendary performer and a legendary show? Exactly. I'm looking right now at my box set of Lost is right across the way.
Oh, it's a good one. You know, and people have their My So-Called Life box sets that they guard with their lives. Like you could never tear them away from. So I hear about that from people all the time.
Thank you. Well, I'm so excited to snag a copy of it when it comes out at the end of the month. Thanks so much for making time and for being part of a fantastic show.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Bye-bye. Have a good night.